Sarva Upanishad Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana Parthavatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gitamritam Mahad. All the Upanishads are like the cows. The milker is Krishna, the cowherd boy. Arjuna is a calf, and people of purified intellect are the drinkers of that milk, and the milk itself is the supreme nectar called the Bhagavad Gita. We are discussing the immutability of the self, the Atman. In the second chapter, verse 21, which we had briefly seen. The verse is Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajamavyayam katam sa purusha partha kam gatayati hantikam. He who realizes the Atman as indestructible, eternal, unborn and changeless, how can that person slay or cause another to slay, O Partha? The idea is, as we had discussed, there are two orders of existence, one the immutable, one the mutable. The immutable is called Akshara, that which does not undergo any change. And the mutable is this world. When we can realize this self that is under discussion, consideration, enam, this, that it is, Veda is to know avinashinam, indestructible. But our perception is only limited to what we see. It's immutable. So this is the order of existence that Sri Krishna is presenting to Arjuna, that is to us. The very fact that he is speaking about the doctrine of the immutable Atman is because you have to get situated or get established in the thought first of the Atman. And then we proceed with the later sections of the Bhagavad Gita that gives us the means in order to realize this immutability. So the first thing that Sri Krishna presents is these ideas, which as far as we can know, that Arjuna was not fully ignorant of this, because he was trained in the Gurukula, that is in the house of the teacher, and with Sri Krishna by his side, he had picked up this doctrine. But then in the times of crisis, what does one do? This is the kind of reviving his memory about existence. The next sloka is the very, you can say, famous sloka, the verse, second chapter, 22nd. Vasansti jirnani yata vihaya navani grinati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani Anyani sanyati navani dehi. This is the well-known sloka because it's easy to understand. Because as a person casting off worn-out garments puts on new ones, so the embodied casting off worn-out bodies enter into others that are new. This is the doctrine of the transmigration of the individual soul. And as we know that this doctrine was also known to the ancient Greeks. And in many cultures of the world, there are traces of this transmigration of the soul. That in one body, with all our idiosyncrasies, with all our limitations, we cannot go through all the experiences that are necessary to lead us to knowledge of the self. We look at death as something different. That's another part of life. It is life manifesting as this. But we have, in a way, demonized death. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just again another modification. So, the illustration as given, we know how when we change clothes. Okay. The same way, the embodied soul changes bodies. Now there are some people with a heightened, you can say, somatic, you can say, feelings. That is, it is so intense. There was a fairy tale where the princess couldn't sleep because there was a pea under 20 mattresses. And she couldn't sleep because she was tossing about. Hey, that's the height of somatic awareness. But we don't have to be like that princess. Yeah? Of course, it's now discovered that it has a molecular, biological, you can say, basis. And the neurotransmitter implicated is serotonin. So here we are. We may not be like the princess, but we have a tremendous amount of body awareness. Consciously and subconsciously. That's the reason why he's saying that how does one get away from it? Yes, that is the big question. Every type of spiritual practices is trying to get away from these shackles that we have placed upon ourselves, trying to free ourselves. So every time we pray or meditate or repeat the name of God, we are, as it were, unlocking ourselves, going deeper and deeper into ourselves. We know this somatic sensation, this body, is like the hardware. It's hard. And we have another layer in this called the software, because we know that the hardware cannot run without a software. And the software is important. And the software has, like David Chalmers talks about the hard problem and the soft problem of consciousness. It is actually, both are difficult, both are hard. There is no soft and there is no hard problem of consciousness. So this, like the body has genetic memory. We've been carrying this for millions and millions and millions of years. All our history is written in our DNA. And the mind has the karmic memories, all situated there for millions and millions and millions of years or lifetimes. Yes, you can say that. Everything is recorded there. So we have two types of memories going about. And it is these memories that are energized, as it were, by something called the vital force of prana. This prana joins itself to the body here as well as to the mind. At the time of departing, as a person casting off worn-off garments puts on new ones, so the embodied, the soul associated with the mind stuff, intelligence, the sense of I, individuality, and the memories, all these, along with the sensory system and the vital forces, they depart, leaving behind, as a snake discards its slough and leaves it. It's kind of there. It doesn't even say it's mine. Something like we pair of nails. We keep on pairing of nails. You're saying, as long as a nail is here on my fingertips, here I can see that I can say that's mine, it's hurting me. After I discard it, I don't collect it, saying this was me. They might send me to an asylum. Oh, this guy's collecting his fingernails or collecting the hair. Somewhere deep down we know that these things have to be discarded. When we can't comprehend why we are so caught up with this idea of the body. This also has been discarded n number of times. In the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says that there is a kind of that abhinivesha, that fear, that clinging to life. That is difficult, and that's one of the biggest obstacles in the yoga practices. So this prana is a vital force here. It has many subdivisions. The 5 main divisions are prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. There are subsidiary forces also, but these will explain how a person leaves one place and goes to another place. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that like a leech going to the end of a stalk of grass, holds on to the next stalk, the tip of the grass, and leaves the first one. Similarly, the soul reaches out first to the next embodiment and gives this one up. So as it is leaving, the first thing that happens is between, say, 5 to about 6 minutes, as after the prana, the portion that's the vital force that's higher on top, as it departs, this prana is associated with breathing, with thought, and all the higher functions. So you're saying, oh, the person is dead. It means the brain is dead. We have a doctor here and I've got to be careful too. I'm going to speak from the perspective of yoga. So, breathing stops and a person is declared dead. But there are cases where person suddenly revives. And what happened? You don't diagnose death. You declare a person dead. At the same time, after the person is dead, the organs can be harvested and can be transplanted. That means there is some life there. It has to be. So it takes about 60 minutes for the prana to completely depart. It's like, they came in stages, and they ought to go out in stages. Yeah. The second is Vyana. That is the vitality, the vital force that pervades a body. That starts getting less, and the body starts getting cold. Obviously. Then the apana. You see that even if a person has been killed or is dead, there are some twitchings, sometimes in the hands or sometimes in the feet. So here we have that person is dead and that person also is twitching. That is the action of apana. There are sensations still. The doctor has said the person is dead, but there is still life there. Yeah. Then the next one to go is the udana. Udana actually takes the soul out. A remnant of it is left. And that can be seen. A body that is alive seems lighter than a dead body. You try to pick up a dead body, oh God, it's 70 kilos, 80 kilos, whatever. 150 or 60 or 70 pounds. And you really feel that same person, when he was alive, he or she was alive, it was very easy to lift that person. And all these kung fu, these practices, they try to manipulate the udhana. You can see, kung fu fighters, leap so high. How is that possible? It's udana. They can manipulate the vital force called udana. So as that udana leaves gradually, the body becomes heavier. It is your own weight. 150 pounds there on the scale. Now the person who will see this, actually, yes, it's really 150 pounds. That buoyancy is no more. And then we have the Vyana. That actually still preserves the body. And that's the reason why we can harvest the organs. Once that departs, there is something called the actual rotting processes, or the decay processes begin. Now, there is something called also the Lazarus reflex. If all of us know who was Lazarus. He was brought from the dead by Jesus Christ. Who was dead, who was buried in the tomb, and Jesus called out and said, hey, come out, Lazarus, come. He comes out. So there is something called a Lazarus reflex, that a person is dead, declared dead, and for a few hours, the rigor mortis hasn't set in yet. That person sometimes raises the hand and crosses. Those who work.
What happened? Jesus Christ actually brought Lazarus back to life, or is that a story?
No. In the Yoga Sutras, one can revive the body. One can enter into another body. One can revive that old body. Yes, it is possible. It's not a story. It's like walking on the water. It's not a story anymore. These things can be performed by yogis. Yeah. There's a book called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Like you have the Egyptian Book of the Dead, we have a Tibetan Book of the Dead. There was a story of a lama who was going to meet another lama, and the first one heard that the second lama had passed away. Oh, it's not possible. How? I am supposed to meet him. My karma was supposed to meet and talk to him. How come? But he reaches that second lama who was dead for a day, and then he utters some mantras, and that lama re-emerges. And he's saying, I'll guide you now to the correct path. You were stuck up somewhere. They conversed, they had a cup of tea, Tibetan tea. And then he's saying, okay, are you ready? Yes. Now I'll guide you to it. And in fact, that's the opening chapter, one of the opening chapters. And leads the second lama down. It's nothing frightening. Just you go from one dimension to the other dimension. So what happens is, when we dream or when we have ingested drugs, the whole brain is kind of in a kind of a seizure. It sees things, oh, that's not spirituality. It sees lights and sounds and queer things and thinks, oh, that's an experience. It has nothing to do with spirituality. The cerebral cortex somehow has lost its hold on the brain, and the brain is throwing up all those images which the neurons have been firing. Something similar happens when the soul comes out. And what happens is, for the totality of 13 days, the Vyana, which is the last to depart, kind of hovers around. That's the reason why in Hinduism we have the Shraddha, the funeral, you can say, rites, final funeral rites, on 13th day. And they tie the arms down there and tie the legs also, the toes, and keep them. So the prana does not get a chance to enter. It hovers around. So in India, there were mistakes done. They are supposed to have the cremation in 1.5 hours, but then there were some mistakes done. They said, wait, let's wait for 4 hours. And then within 6 hours, that the body needs to be cremated or buried. In a burial, you'll have that, I was there. I can't get out of that somatic attachment to the body. So, as these thoughts which just sprout out without any kind of a controlling power over that, whatever we have done as a kind of a impelling force that takes the mind, the subtle body out, and now it is confused, it's hovering, it's confused. Now what? That was me. Yeah. Once the body is cremated or buried, it's over. That person, if that person has kept on doing evil, all those huge demons start tormenting that person. If that person has done good deeds, that person is in a kind of an angelic state. Then slowly, that person is drawn to the next embodiment. There are various other factors, but we need not go into this because the illustration was given of we discard bodies, put on new ones. Similarly, the Dehi, the soul, embodied soul, discards bodies and puts on new ones for further experiences, higher and higher experiences. We should not get stuck up with only these small things in life. There's a huge world out here. When we are equipped with knowledge, we will get a kind of a, they say that when satellites or spaceships leave this gravitational, you can say, this gravitational pull, and then the other planet or you can say celestial body pulls at it and then makes it revolve and gives it kind of a kick, gravity, which moves it to the next stage. It is knowledge, it is experience that leads us to the next part, next embodiment. So this is the kind of a continuous process. We are learning, we keep on learning and learning and learning till we don't need to know anything more, and then we are free. Shri Ramakrishna says, who can be a renunciant, who can be a monk? One who has seen all the experiences, or the enjoyments from the scavenger to the king. Not only that, we've seen the whole evolutionary, you can say, sequence. And it is, so are we simply being buffeted by our karma? Because Kathopanishad says, yata karma yata shrutam. Like one's karma is, like one's knowledge is, so will be the next embodiment. So this embodied one, it leaves the gross body and takes along with it the subtle body and the causal body. Goes to the next. As a man, as a person, casting off worn out garments, puts on new ones, so the embodied, casting off worn off bodies, and enter into others which are new, to unfold one's karma and unfold one's prana. So it's quite a long topic. We don't need to go into this reincarnation business. It has been presented in order to show the higher order of existence, which we must not lose sight of. The next sloka. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapo, nashoshayati marutaha. Here we have a simple, this soul, this embodied, you can say, being, nothing can kill it. We are aware of fire, water, and air, and weapons. In the old days we had swords, and probably if the Gita would have been spoken now, you will have some kind of submachine guns. So weapons do not cleave the Atman. Fire burns it not, water wets it not, wind dries it not. So we have these elements, fire, water, air, and earth, which are, as I say, can be divided. They form and they have a name. When we look at space, we can't divide, we can't divide space. As simple as that. Where is space? Space is space. It's everywhere. Similarly, can you divide the mind? The mind is as subtle as space. You can't divide the mind. It is there. So what has form can affect another form. Fire can affect, wood, and wood can affect the earth, and water can affect this, the whole play of this. But Akash, the space, doesn't have any kind of role, but it's a kind of a background, a kind of a receptacle. It is one form of material, the scriptures say. Thank God the sages said that it is a kind of a material, space. Otherwise you would have got into big trouble. So now, thank God, astrophysicists and everyone is talking about space as having matter. It is a subtle form of matter. When you mold a earthen pot, you don't ask, when did the space enter inside? It's there, it's all pervading. So similarly, this mind also is all pervading, but due to our past karma, it congeals, as it were, in one place, and that kind of keeps on moving on the background of the universal mind, from one place to another. So this self, this Atman, cannot be divided because it's even subtler than space, and subtler than the mind, subtler than the intelligence, even subtler than the sense of I. And so that which is subtle is all pervasive. The less subtle a thing is, the more condensed it becomes, as it were. So we cannot, and this Atman, this is saying, Enam, this self is so subtle. That's the reason why they're saying it is realized by seers with a one-pointed intellect that has been purified. Drishyate tva grahya buddhya. That the intelligence has become kind of one-pointed. Sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. That is, those who can realize subtle things. We cannot visualize the mind body, the subtle body. There are people who can visualize it. In fact, there was a girl I knew just before coming here. A friend of mine, a monk, says, "Come over here." So saying, "What's up?" He said, "No, just come." He wanted to kind of trick me or trap me or test me, I don't know what. "Come over." I went there, and there was this young girl who was sitting and talking. So I joined them. I sat down and talked and had a cup of tea. And then my friend, the Swami, says, "So how is his aura?" Very subtle. "Oh, it's nice." "What color is it?" I said, What's up? I met this young lady. She has, since her birth, has got this ability. She can see the aura of people, and that aura keeps on changing, and she can tell the nature of that person. I say, "You could have warned me. I would have kept repeating the name of God." So, there are people with these kind of abilities that can see. There is something called the extended mind also, which, thank God, does not extend only in the body, apart from the brain. They call it extended mind. So it extends in the brain and it oozes out. So we are changing our conceptions of the brain as well as the mind. So this mind element can be seen once your perceptions have become subtle. As one becomes more and more subtle, one can see clearly what is there. Like Sri Ramakrishna say, I seen my subtle body come out. He used to see many things on the subtle body, and the subtle body was like with a neck bent, with kind of a black, you can mark. He seen Mother Kali like that. But of course, Sri Ramakrishna used to see his subtle body with some stains on it. So once he saw Mother Kali with a neck bent like this, saying, "What happened to you?" "No, I've got a pain in my throat." And that was transferred to Sri Ramakrishna. They were the same entity. He was, as it were, Kali, embodied. Swami Vivekananda says, it is Kali who worked up the body of Ramakrishna. So we also work up a body to exhibit our characteristics, our traits, as well as further our experiences. So nobody weeps when space is, you can say, disturbed. There are vibrations in space, huge vibrations. Now we know that there are gravitational waves which are detected. But whenever we see an earthquake, or you can see a volcano or a tsunami crashing down, oh, see that destruction, oh my God, destruction on a massive scale. We see a kind of a bomb thrown and we see, wow, space is not affected. Sri Ramakrishna says, if you light a fire in the room, the smoke blackens the walls, but space is not blackened. So similarly, our soul, the embodied soul, is subtle and is not touched by all these transformations. Weapons do not cleave the Atman, fire burns it not, water wets it not, wind dries it not. When Akshay, Sri Ramakrishna's nephew, passed away, and Sri Ramakrishna was laughing, and they think, his nephew has passed away, and they're laughing. You say, I saw Akshay's subtle body emerge out of his gross body like a sword coming out of a scabbard. There. Of course, he did weep later on when the full impact, because God also has to be like us. He also needs to weep and moan. Yeah, then he says, even me, I cry. Then what about the other souls which are bound? And this is what marks an avatar, compassion. Tremendous compassion. Somehow he is trying to get us out of this delusion that we are just the body. We need to shift our center of consciousness. This body runs subconsciously. You don't need to bother about when you eat. You don't check how the morsel is going down unless it's stuck up here in the throat. And then you start coughing and try to down it with a glass of water. The body runs by its own mechanisms. But the soul, it says, the consciousness is free. to think higher thoughts of the Atman. And it is better to think of ourselves as immortal, eternal. And as the next verse says, these two verses are taken actually together, that the self is eternal, all-pervading, stable, immovable, and everlasting. It is not killed when the body is killed. So here we are. We are that reality. And Sri Krishna is trying to draw Arjuna's consciousness down there, not to that somatic, you can say, attachment. Trying to wean. And experiences do show that there is a universal element in all our experiences. In all experiences, the scriptures say, when you see a cow, if you've seen it for the first time, you say, what is this cow? It's nothing but from the Sanskrit gau. Things come down from some source. Then you understand the cow. After that, if you see a red cow, the cow that you see was white, and you see a red cow, you know that cows have a red color also. There is a universal experience in first the details, and then the universal aspect, the cowness. I know the cow, along with what is a cow in its universal aspect. So if you see a blue cow or a black cow or a red cow or a brown cow, you know it's a cow. You draw on that universal knowledge. You study one thing, you can understand the whole universe. That's the universal aspect of the knowledge that is always present. We just go and are caught in the details. That's why in the Chandogya Upanishad, the father is teaching his son Svetaketu. Yata somya ekena mritpindena sarvam migna. If you know one lump of clay, you know all the things made of clay in the universe. So when we have this universal aspect of knowledge within us, which we draw on all the time, but unknowingly, amazingly, that is knowledge, but we draw on it unknowingly. We need to first step into that dimension. And first thing that we will understand is, I am that universal knowledge. Because the Bhagavad Gita also says, Yo yat shraddha sa eva sa. As is a man's faith, so is that person. Shri Ramakrishna will say, as is a man's faith, so is his knowledge. In one of his songs, he should say. Knowledge gives us a tremendous sense of faith, encouragement, and stability. And that's why he's saying, the Bhagavad Gita says, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The person of faith attains knowledge. So we have knowledge here, that universal aspect of the knowledge, which is always joined to faith. Somehow we have become disassociated from that. We just need to have faith in that, yes, I am that universal self. My knowledge, because knowledge is one of the qualities of existence. Sat and Chit and Ananda. So we have that infinite dimension already in us waiting. Knock and the door will be open to you. Why can't we knock? The strength of that knock will depend on the degree of our concentration, the degree of how much we can want that to go. Once you can go in there, You see, Sri Ramakrishna, he was many things are not really highlighted. When he used to try to teach Swami Vivekananda certain things, he used to come from Dakshineshwar, leave his body there, come out, pull Swami Vivekananda's subtle body and teach him, and then push it back in, and he used to go back to Dakshineshwar. Nice way of traveling. Space travel. One time, Swami Vivekananda was averse to songs depicting the love between Sri Krishna and Radha, and he's saying, oh God, it makes a person soft, and all these love songs, and oh God. He wanted some fire and some strength and some energy. So, one time, Sri Ramakrishna comes, takes Swami Vivekananda's subtle body, and he's saying, come, I'll show you what Radha looks like. Radha she was considered very beautiful. She's the goddess, the beautiful goddess. And he leads Swami Vivekananda's subtle body, saying, where do we need to go? He just turns and he's transformed into Radha. And Swami Vivekananda was so struck by that divine beauty of Radha. And later on we find him singing these Vaishnava songs depicting the love between Sri Krishna and Radha. So there was something that Sri Ramakrishna did was spark the whole thing. So we have many instances like this in the scriptures also, and also in the, you can say, folklore and in the mythology. But what I'm trying to emphasize is that this body and this embodied soul are two different existences, somehow connected due to non-knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of when a coconut is tender, you scrape it, you might get some of that shell also along with it. When it is dry, that coconut gives off a sound. It has detached itself, the fruit has detached itself from the shell. And you can hear the sound of the coconut. So the person who has been ripened through knowledge, to the fire of knowledge, or you can say, can easily detach from this body. Then the body can run for some time without you being there. Don't worry about that. Like I said, this Vyana, the prana, one of the prana, it keeps the body for 13 days. So you don't have to worry about it. Certain times when you get a kind of sting of a scorpion, and if it's not treated, or a snake bite or something, that part starts decaying. Vyana, as it were, retracts from that part. And then with treatment, again it goes back. So it's not necessary that, the prana will leave you off together, but it comes away from certain parts, and that part starts decaying. So wait, the 13 days you have plenty of time. Holy Mother says that ordinary souls have to kind of wait for a year before they can get a new one. So some souls, they get it immediately. And there are numerous cases where a person's memories of the previous incarnation are there. A girl says, I was born in that particular house and I was married there, I had children. Where did we get? Then they go back and check and say, oh, it was there, that young girl, that girl had died and she's born again. So till the age of 9 or 10, sometimes there are memories. There are memories. As the neurons, they say, use it or lose it. So when we don't use some of the old neural connections, the brain undertakes a kind of a pruning. It wants to save energy. So with it, some of the past memories also go. There are memories, and in one of the last births that we will see the whole sequence of our various stages of embodiment. So all these things are in the mind. They are not destroyed. Knowledge will destroy it when it is no longer required to build another body. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of like a burnt coil of rope. The coil of rope has been burnt. It has no power to bind you. So all these old karmic memories will be just memories, like burnt seed, dagda bija. They will have no power to sprout into newer bodies. So when they are burnt with that knowledge of what? Knowledge of the self, then everything is quiet. You blow on that coil of burnt rope and you see the ashes flying about all over the place. So that's the way. We stop here for a few questions. We have 4 minutes. Though I thought I'll keep some time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.